Hey there, welcome to episode 167 of the Cafe Genius Impresario's audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo. We are recording this at 8:58 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time here in Greater Vegas on Friday, May 8th, 2026. We normally release new episodes of Cafe Genius Impresarios on Friday mornings. So, checkbox checked. Today's title and topic, Tweaking SRC. I've talked about SRC before, but we're going to talk about it again. And it's tweaking, making small changes. If you're not familiar with the Cafe Genius Impresario's audio program, Cafe Genius was founded in 2022 to facilitate the pitch workout room, pitch mingle, a couple of other things, the Genius Roundtable, the Meetup Collaboratory. There are a couple other things. The Genius Roundtable is the big thing now. Hopefully we'll get a second cohort going this year at some point as part of Initiative 2026. Cafe with two F's and no accent, an homage to Cafe Centro, where startups start, a coffee shop in San Francisco in the South Park area. No longer, unfortunately, it didn't survive much past the pandemic, but a cool little spot. I had been there several times, where startups start, indeed. And the genius from the Genius lunches, the gatherings, the meetups, the little ad hoc meals shared amongst a few startup people here and there. It was not a set group. It was just people that were basically familiar with each other through the downtown project. So every once in a while we get together and have a little gossip session of sorts. Not really so gossipy, but more, what's up, what's going on, who's doing what, where, etc. No format, no agenda. Just show up, have lunch, get back to work. It was a good idea. We should bring that back. I have tried. I need to find more interested people. And impresarios, those are people, spelled with two S's, by the way. That's the correct spelling for us. It is not incorrect, but it is a less common spelling, two S's. Impresarios, making stuff happen. Those are the people that are making our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem go. I fancy myself as one of them. So without a guest, it'll be me. Sometimes we have guests. We should get back to that someday. Episode 167, recording on this Friday, May 8th. Hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a brief summary, which I'll read to you, and the normal two program links. Nothing to add for today other than those two. So let's get started. The summary of today's episode, not a pivot, more a pre-production observation and integration into the other thing I need to launch to make it all make sense. Be the impresario. The links, as usual, the Cafe Genius homepage, Cafe, C-A-F-F-E, G-E-N-I-U-S, or Genius, cafegenius.org. The audio program stuff is there. I need to move. I've said this so many times, it's ridiculous, but I don't know if anybody really cares, but I need to move the pitch workout room stuff over there. Also, too many things to do. The host, if I had a guest, there'd be a guest version. The host profile page, looking at everything. Buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. You will find links to all of my various audio productions, projects. There are some affiliate links for things that I actually use. You do not need to spend money at buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo, though. You can if you want to, but everything's free. There's some biographical information at the top. And don't forget, every Monday morning, the Buy Me an Update audio program is published first at buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts. That's where the name comes from, Buy Me an Update, at buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts. There you go. And then it is published later, 2 hours later, usually, at the other usual places where podcasts are found. Buy Me an Update. There you go. So first, a quick refresher. What is SRC again? Before we talk about the adjustments, SRC is actually an acronym for Startup Resource Center. Or wait, it was a project I tried to make happen for the good of the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem as far as people entering it from other places, even locally as well. And a resource center, indeed, an entry point, a gateway to the first mile. I used to refer to the arrival in Vegas as the last mile, but it's actually the first mile of a startup journey. This was especially true during the downtown project when people would move to Vegas to pursue their startups in or as part of, or within the boundaries of the downtown project. It was sort of inspired by expat centers, expatriate centers, that some might encounter when moving to other countries from the U.S. I visited one in Eindhoven while I was just visiting Holland. This was a good idea, but the city of Las Vegas did not quite get it. In usual CLV fashion, they led us along a little bit. Oh, yes, this is very interesting. Let's have a meeting and talk about, how we could be a part of this. And then they just ghosted us after that. Vegas. Based on a conversation I had with the Terrence Thornton character while he was at LVGEA, he is now the president of the Nevada Special Olympics. So good for him and all involved. But I spoke to him in the LVGEA office, that's the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, about something similar to what the SRC will become. I had just moved to Vegas a short time after I met I met him shortly after I moved to Vegas. How about that? There was a gap of sorts between the entire startup notion of the downtown project and everybody involved in that and in general, and the tourism industry, more specifically the visitor population of Vegas, which was not quite as large a decade ago, but it was pretty large. This was in the days of the downtown project, of course, and I found it odd, even troubling, that the startups and the other ventures coming together there downtown may as well have been a million miles away from the Strip. And the entire tourism crowd. It was a great idea, he said, to connect the people pursuing their startup adventures and all of these people coming to Vegas they could learn about these opportunities. They could learn about new products, services. He said it was, Terrence, Mr. Thornton, said it was a great idea, that it was the end, and then that was the end of that. Looking back, of course, this didn't go anywhere, because I should not have talked to LVGEA about it. I probably should have talked to LVCVA, the Convention and Visitors Authority. Vegas wants you to do it before they even give you a second look. That's really how things function here, unless you're wealthy or a celebrity. If you flip back to episode 106 of this very audio program, titled City as a Showcase, you'll hear a rundown of what the SRC is in its new form, and why it makes sense in Vegas. Connecting innovation, that's my modern terminology, not just startups per se, to the visitor population to showcase novel ideas across a diverse population. A population of visitors, that is. The easy example is trying out the latest coffee maker technology in the rooms of some of the higher end resorts as a VIP amenity, with feedback to the manufacturer. As luck would have it, this is a real and working example. But the question is whether the interface to the resort infrastructure and connecting the product, any particular product, to the individual user for that feedback, how does that work? And maybe even a potential sale. So that's where SRC comes in, or that's where it was, and it eventually will be. That's where the change comes into play. So reaching the lean in is difficult, of course. Now there's a challenge trying to roll this idea out in Vegas. As always, everything is not as easy as it could be. I need to convince resorts and the other venues that it's not all about hotel rooms. It's not all about resorts, but that's kind of a low hanging fruit first start. The hotel room setting is one of several possibilities, though. The user experience with a particular product or service could be built around any number of settings. So anywhere in Vegas. To become a part of a collection of possibilities, find innovative products and services and engage their creators, the businesses or individuals who have developed and are either selling or about to sell these things, and entering this marketplace. So trying to get them to actually try this out. At first, ideally, this notion would catch on and then they would come to us, but that's going to take some effort to be sure. It's amazing how if someone has a new idea, like a new product or something, and then someone else with a new idea, like SRC, speaks to them, they're a little bit more skittish than you would think. Like, well, we're both trying to start something new here. Risk aversion, I guess, perhaps. But yeah, hopefully as we get the ball rolling, more people would come to us and then connect our visitor population to the new product or service through the particular venue, so that they understand the opportunity to interact with cool new stuff. which then translates hopefully to a benefit for the provider of the product or service, the maker, the innovator. And it's kind of a cool factor for the particular venue. So all that comes together, and possibly an affiliate marketing arrangement. If somebody buys something, some sort of a percentage. Anyway, there's all kinds of possibilities there. A three-sided market, though, which is what this is already tricky. Here we would be attempting to get the venues and the makers, innovators, product developers, whatever it is, together, and then let the visitors come across these novel products and services as they move around the Vegas environment. At steady state, once the three sides are established and some momentum develops, this is part of the showcase in a city as a showcase works. This as part of the showcase. So the entire city as a showcase notion is to make the greater Vegas area a sort of leading edge destination so people would actually understand the future by vacationing in it, visiting it, basically. The ooh and ah of a visit to Vegas, which would move from tourist destination to innovation destination, which is a concept I've been talking about as well for a decade, maybe longer. But talk is cheap. It's getting cheaper. So come on now. What I have found when I describe this concept in more recent times is that I get a blank stare back at me. That's always encouraging. They get it, or they say, so they say, but I'm fairly certain that the mental gymnastics are around how this starts, because resorts may not want to be the first adopter. Finding a maker or vendor or whatever we call the innovators with products or services to showcase, and identifying early adopters of this notion without having a place for their stuff to land. That's tricky, and a chicken and egg problem, right? And even more of a challenge, in fact. So how do I get those two sides of the three-sided market to actually connect? The visitors to Vegas can do that part for themselves. People come here, even with the reduction in tourism numbers of late. There are still plenty, 38 million or so. That's a good start. The problem there is one I identified while working for Philips Electronics. Back in, I worked there around the turn of the century, literally. This is when Philips would brag that their fishbowl curved tube. So it looked at the tube, the CRT tube would bulge out into the room from the television. That these televisions were the most popular on the Las Vegas Strip. They had more hotel rooms with Philips TVs in them than any other brand, which led me to ask, again, while I was working there, I asked internally, who goes to Vegas to stay in the room and watch TV, though? Yeah, well, who does? So I'm adding a jog, not a pivot, to the SRC. So recall that I didn't say it yet. So the SRC later, after the Startup Resource Center sort of fell out of favor, I guess, a lack of interest. The new SRC is the Sentiment Research Collaboratory. It's intended to be a sort of a co-creation platform that enables our Vegas visitors and locals sometimes to engage with novel products and services and provide feedback. So we've kind of described that already. The product might be shipping, or it might be an unreleased beta test. That's more deeply involved with co-creation engagements. Maybe feedback would provide some product modifications. So that'd be a late beta test, more of an alpha. Or somewhere in there, somewhere in the process. So the feedback could be interesting or even essential. We think about in-room experience as the sort of the go-to, but any bar, restaurant, event space, retail store, entertainment venue, or anywhere else could be a setting that would work for a particular product or service. This is sort of a hand wave. So sorry, but this is where the other parts of the three-sided marketplace get tricky. Because there is this, where we start the outreach, engagement, and matching could take weeks, months, or fail completely. So that's kind of risky. And again, when I talk to people about this, without something to show, without an example, I kind of get the So nobody's chomping at the bit yet. Recall, I've had these conversations, brief versions anyway, and there's not that immediate aha moment, as I kind of just described. The real lean in doesn't happen. At the same time, we can check the current state of affairs with the Greater Vegas tourism economy and visitor experience and see that there are surveys going on now and then to discover how people visiting Vegas are making decisions, selecting locations, counting their costs, and weighing their return options. Some are selecting no. As far as I'm aware, the main purveyors of these visitor-focused surveys, the main purveyor is the LVCVA, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, though there may be others. Maybe one more. There may be something around the university and their economic development department. Maybe. But anyway, so there are surveys going on of people visiting here with a focus on the tourism experience. So the notion exists, but branching that out into product engagement is the goal and the challenge. And again, it's a chicken and egg problem. Nobody wants to be the first or early adopter unless it's very clearly to their benefit. In the full fat SRC implementation, if you know that term is usually you get it. In the full fat SRC implementation, we would have our three sides functioning, communicating and collaborating, exposing visitors to the latest and greatest, and enabling the innovators to glean useful feedback and possibly make a sale or acquire a new customer, with the venue in question facilitating this interaction. The precise nature of the interaction of the three sides could vary depending on some variables, type of product, type of venue, etc. Low-fat SRC can implement the survey or feedback elements to capture visitor sentiment across many axes and not considered or not reported on, probably both, by the likes of LVCVA. So in other words, we can start with engagement directly with visitors to Vegas and ask them things. What can we learn from visitors? So we'll develop that momentum and that interface to the customer. The interoperability. I have an entirely different show, Let's Innovate for Vegas, where we talk about the various initiatives of our organization. It's a 501c3 public charity nonprofit, the whole nine. It's a civic volunteer organization and all open source. And it's not only software and all sorts of other things. So you can tune in there. Don't forget, buy me at coffee.com/DanHugo. You can find links to all these and more. One pair of initiatives, My Muni and Welcome, are what I call the human interface to a smart city, with the former, My Local, aimed at locals, of course. It could be Vegas, it could be anywhere else, really. The initiative used to be called My Vegas, but we made it My Muni so that it applies anywhere. And the latter, focused on visitors. Clearly we have, and again, this doesn't have to be visitors to Vegas, it could be anywhere. So we're building for anywhere, and we'll be deploying it here. Innovate for Vegas. Clearly, we have more than we have more of one than the other here in Greater Vegas. We have more people visiting than live here. Clark County population 2.4 million, visitor population for 2025 38 million, and a few more. A rolling introspection feature is in the cards, aimed at our locals and the, wait for it, entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem in particular. Why would that be? Who talks about that? The survey platform itself would be a part of these two initiatives, but specific survey tracts could be managed externally if this design works out. So that enables the platform that we're developing to have a third party manage a survey. So maybe Cafe Genius, perhaps. It's funny how that works out, right? So I envision Cafe Genius managing a locally focused rolling introspection survey about our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem and so on. But SRC could manage a visitor-focused survey across these several axes with the options of rolling surveys. Rolling surveys could connect returning visitors to their experiences over time so that we could take a look at individual experience trends, aggregates, and all of that. So when I say multiple axes, right now they'll ask, hey, did you visit any influencers to help you make a decision about coming to Vegas? What did you think of your room, the price, the overall value? There are several questions like that. It's not overly detailed. How did you get here, etc. So we can start asking things like, how easy was it to get around? Did you use any particular pieces of software, mobile apps? Did you make use of artificial intelligence tools? Did you find language variability to be useful to you if you don't speak English or Spanish as typical languages? That is one of the issues here at Vegas that I find concerning, is that they mainly focus on the census data to select the top two. Tagalog, I think, is 3, and there are other languages. We have an Ethiopian town, as in an actual ethnic. What do they call it? Like we have a Chinatown, if you will, but and that's not like an official endorsed ethnic area, but the Ethiopian village. There's a section of the city that's literally officially an ethnic culture center. I think that's what it is, cultural center. So Ethiopian, Asian languages of various, could be Chinese, could be Japanese, could be we mentioned Tagalog. So there are a number of local language variations, not to mention the 38 million people who come here do not all speak English. So language availability resources, how easy was it to get around? Would a virtual tour guide be of interest that could speak the language that you speak? There's a myriad of possibilities. So begin the SRC with the place itself, the city as a showcase. Did you find enough technology? Would you be excited by having access to new products as part of your visitor experience? We can ask all sorts of questions like this and learn directly. And this builds up that connection with visitors. So it becomes a known quantity. And we branch out from there to reach out to local venues and product innovators. Products or services, could be both. Once we get those seeds planted with the visitor engagement owned in quotes, owned by SRC, adding innovative products and services to the visitor experience in a variety of settings, connecting to venues of various kinds, and building on the entire notion of sentiment research is basically, the I'm not going to say the end goal, but that would be another milestone farther down the road, literally farther in time and distance from me, anyway, just like it says in the name, the Sentiment Research Collaboratory. So what do people think? And of course, by collecting that data, not at random, like a random visitor survey, we make asking people questions and getting their feedback and not only a part of a visitor resource, the welcome component of the MyMuni welcome doublet. So MuniBits is the aggregate. So we make that engagement a part of the experience so that it's not, I got to take a survey. It's not getting people to get in a van and go to some timeshare sales pitch. It's not, hey, you want tickets to something? There's all manner of those things. This would just be in your mobile web browsing experience if you're here in the Vegas area. What did you think of this? Did you visit that? What did you think? How easy is it to get around? Did you find it cost prohibitive? Did you try using our public transit system? Did you make use of the loop, the underground, boring, Tesla-powered transportation system, I guess? So the list of possibilities just is as large as you can imagine. Then we can start getting into things like, did your room seem more, what's the word I could use? Surely the aesthetics of a hotel room, those matter, right? No question. Now we live in the technical age. No more fishbowl Philips televisions. So probably a flat display of some sort. Did your room have just the right amount of technology? Could it have used more, an in-room Ethernet port, whatever it is? You can actually get feedback from people across the resorts they're staying in. What did you think of the construction? We have a lot of construction in Vegas. We can ask these questions during the Formula One race, for example, during that week, as the Super Bowl approaches. So they're and the lead up to those. So as you make the visitor experience more interactive by actually taking their feedback, and then here's the thing that that most surveys don't do. They don't tell you what people really think until later. They'll publish some sort of a report on it. Here, much like taking an internet survey or voting on something on maybe Twitter or Mastodon or blue sky. Here's a poll. It's lasting for a week, and then at the end of the week, you get a little notification like, oh, here's where you voted of the 4 options, for example, and that was the second choice with 38% or whatever it is. So you make that experience. And then the other component, of course, is to anonymously, but you offer people an opportunity to say, I would like to have an ongoing survey experience. So if I come back to Vegas, or if I'm considering coming back to Vegas, I can interact with the same survey. I can see what people think of the things that I found important, whether they're trending up or down as far as approval, survey response, leanings. So there's a number of opportunities here to make it's kind of a marketing tool and so on. It's a direct customer engagement tool. It's a marketing and feedback tool. The results would be visible for all to see. So opportunity to actually make the most of what visitors to Vegas are saying without relying so much on I'm going to call it clickbait. The content that some content creators are posting about how Vegas is dead, for example. That's causing some tension here in Vegas because other people who are more closely connected to the numbers will say it's not dead. Look, we actually had a 1%, 1 point something percent increase in numbers for March. April. April numbers will be published at the end of May. So at the end of April, we got the March numbers. The LVCVA publishes those every month. And there was a slight increase for March of 2026 over March of 2025, 1 point something percent, but that is in the right direction. So people were somewhat excited. A lot more air travel. I don't know how that translated to, no, I do. It's only 100 people on an airplane, but a lot of people were traveling by aircraft. So that'll be interesting to see how fuel prices are going to impact that for this month. And but there's a number of numbers that are published, but a lot more numbers and trends and customer visitor sentiment could be captured on a rolling basis and expressed through some charts and whatnot, so that people can see whether it's actually dead or not. And I think dead is if you're looking at tourism numbers, is a question of what the tourists actually think. So if you don't keep track anonymously, right? So you basically get a number. You don't have to attach a name or an email address or something like this. So it's the same person, but you don't know who it is. They can provide some demographic information if they want to. But at the end of the day, you end up with, if I return to Vegas, I'm still that same person. You don't know my name, but you do know that I came here from wherever. Last time I stayed at this resort, this time I'm staying at this other one. Price sensitivity would help to make that selection, and so on and so on. So, and then of course, as we establish a database of sorts of anonymized people, there are opportunities to then say, hey, by the way, if you stay at a particular resort, you might be able to try out the new pour over coffee machine, which I actually had a conversation with a company doing that. So it's a little coffee machine that actually has a little nozzle that rotates, and it does the pour over effect if you're using a gooseneck. So make a pour over coffee in your room, not a pod, right? You actually pour the coffee into the little cone, little coffee bed. Pretty cool. So you can try that out at the Wynn or the Resorts World, whatever. So you can then integrate the venues into the engagement with customers to try out the new products. So that is a logical step in the future, but we're not there yet. So I figured, I should focus on the survey part, which is already a part of what I said before about our Munibits initiative. So yeah, this sounds like a convoluted pathway, but it actually is more direct. It was more convoluted before, trying to make the three-sided marketplace work. But here we have an opportunity, I think, to make one part of that three-sided marketplace engage with the notion in general, not with specific products, but with their visitor and tourist experience to get started. So it's the sentiment of the visitor across any or all of Vegas as a starting point. That seems to make sense to me, and I guess I will find out soon enough. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. Hopefully this was interesting. I've been trying to decide exactly the best way to get that three-sided marketplace formed and it is a challenge. Engaging the LVCVA at some point will make sense. So we'll probably do that and see. I don't even know. I think the LVCVA does do interfaces with venues. So in other words, if you're going to be coming to Vegas with an event, like, hey, we're here for a conference. We want to have a gathering of about 300 people. The LVCVA has like a location or venue database for accommodating people, but I don't believe they do we'll call it product placement, to enable something like as I'm describing. And then the entire city as a showcase notion really brings that down to any venue, any engagement possibility, any product or service. So SRC should really be the interface to the visitors to Vegas, connecting those things, and then that feedback pathway. So merely placing someone, hey, we need 300 people, a 300 person event space for a gathering during a convention. Okay, they got you. We're going to be demoing products. We would like to enable some feedback. We don't have the facilities. Oh, okay. Well, SRC could do something like that, or some sort of interaction like that. So yeah, the ability to connect and then manage the relationships between the three sides of the marketplace is a non-trivial part. So now we're just kind of wrapping up the overall vision. I think there's a tremendous amount of value left on the table by having visitors come here, and then I was almost going to say allowing them. That's not quite how this works, but basically people come here and then, enjoy, and then you let them they're visiting Vegas. They have opinions. They will form opinions about their experience. The opportunity there is to make Vegas better by listening to them. Then you would get real answers, not person on the street, YouTuber conversation with one or two people that are usually, motivated reasoning. Hey, what did you think of your visit to Vegas? Do you think Canada has enough people coming here? How do we get more? They'll basically steer the line of questioning, or maybe you'll just get a casual response. But these are completely anecdotal, and they're completely, random is good, but there's really no structure to them. And while I'm not complaining about a one-time response from a random and probably anonymous person, they may introduce themselves and you may see their image, but you don't have any connection to them otherwise. So they provide an answer that doesn't go anywhere, right? It's not really captured for the sake of analysis. It's really just a mention, some words said on a YouTube channel, on a program, an episode, and that's it. So there's really no structure to capturing that data. The LVCVA at least does the data collection and analysis and some reporting. So we can up that game. That's the idea. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Finally, I got 35 minutes. That's not too bad. Not too long, not too short on a lovely and warming Friday morning. All right, I'm rambling. Thank you for listening. As always, don't forget to check out buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo. You do not need to spend any money. You can see all the various audio programs I publish every week, and we'll take it from there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out all the other stuff I'm doing, and we'll catch you next week. Don't forget, Innovation Initiative 2026. If you're an entrepreneur or innovator or both here in Greater Vegas, do consider participating in better understanding and analyzing our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. Listen for more.